We'll get everybody in here. Hello. Hey, welcome everybody. Come on in. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good morning on the West Coast. Good afternoon on the East Coast. My name is Jim Tanner. I'm going to be your host today as we kick off our full service associate celebration here on Monday morning. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you that are in the United States and just attended and had a great Thanksgiving and probably started renewed some family feuds. Well, you had a few days to do so congratulations to those of you that have done that. Maybe you finally got the last word in on that one uncle. Hopefully you came up the better end of that. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it was all wonderful. The most personally developed group of people in the world had a chance to spend some time with their families. And I think that's probably a pretty good thing. And we're going to get started here as everybody's joining us. Again, welcome. Congratulations to all of you. It's the end of the month. It's the beginning of the week. It's the end of the month. Some of you are excited about the month you've had so far. Some of you are a little stressed out about it. All of that is normal. Sometimes it's your turn to be stressed out. Sometimes it's your turn to be enjoying it. But wherever you are in the process of finishing the month of November, you're here. You're plugged in. You're committed. And I'm grateful to have you here with us. And of course, many of you are watching this as a replay. I think we have just incredible numbers on our replays on YouTube. So thanks to those of you and welcome to those of you that are watching on replay as well. As we get started here today, we're going to be going to the Mid-Atlantic region, to Maryland, to money-making, millionaire-making Maryland, to Mr. Johnny Jones in 1 second. But before I go to Mr. Jones, I just want to make sure, because we have so many new folks joining and plugging in, that you understand you're about to hear from one of the folks that's been instrumental in the success of our business. This is somebody who, he's not going to brag about himself, but I've watched how dependent we all are on the precision and the detail-oriented focus of Mr. Johnny Jones. I've seen this at live events where he's been in charge. I've seen this at live events where he wasn't in charge when it started, and then 10 minutes after we got started, he was in charge. And I have seen this play out over and over again as he's helped all of us to get better at our craft of being full service associates. So, Mr. Jones, I'm excited to have you here with us today as we kick off the week. We'd love to hear what's going on in your world so that we can all get access to this great training and information that's coming up throughout the week. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words. I hope I live up to them when people meet me, because now they're going to go out looking at me based on your lens. And I hope that I actually meet up to that. There are two things I'm thinking about today. One is the word habit. The other one is the word story. And habit is such an important thing. As a full service associate, it's going to come down to habits. Really, if you want to get good at that, what are your habits going to be? Because your habits determine what you do in everything. You know, if you think about the 10 core commitments, and because I still have the CDs, the Jeff Olson CDs sitting right over there, the one thing that they talked about, everything, if you look in it, it's about a habit. Super Saturday every month, that's a habit. 2 exposures a day, every day, that's a habit. So the first thing you want to do is create a habit. What is your habit going to be? And then you can tweak the habit. So if you want to do more small business, first you get the habit of talking to 2 people, then you get the habit of talking to 2 business owners every day. But your habits are the things that are the most telling for you. So you want to work on your habit and truly develop your habit. And as I coach my team tonight, that's what I'm going to talk to them about. What is your habit? If you don't like your results for the month, the first thing you have to go back to is, what was your habits? What was your habits through the entire month? You know, and I often, and I know, Mr. Tanner, this probably, actually, you probably hear this a lot more than I hear it. People will give you a goal and you say, okay, how you going to get there? And then it gets quiet. There's crickets because they don't really have a plan. And it really just comes down to habit. People tell me they want to be Performance Club by the 15th. And I say, what's your goal? The 15th. What's your work? Nothing. I'm going to do work harder. What does that mean? Can you show me what work harder means? And it's not there. And so I truly believe that habit is the number one thing. If you're going to be a full service associate, you want to have habits in different areas. So you want to habit how many business owners you're going to talk to, how many employee benefit groups are you going to talk to, or people that fall in that space. There are a lot of apps now. I have an app on my phone. Somebody just reminded me yesterday that I have the app, the Habit Factor, which is an app I have for tracking habits. If you want to have a particular habit, it allows you to set your goals, set your habits, and track the habits that you want to get better at every single day. And so I use that a lot. And we're getting ready to read the book as a team, Atomic Habits. because that is the number one thing. If you're going to create a new year, you got to start to work on your habits so that you can go after this. So whatever your goals are, if you say, I want to open up 5 groups in the next 365 days, I want to open up 10 small businesses, what are the habits it's going to take to get there? What do you have to do on a daily basis to get there? And so that's the first word I want to say, just listening to when somebody said, if you didn't hit your goals, well, what was your habits? Your habits tell you everything. And everything we talk about in our business from the 10 core commitments is habits. You get to determine your habits. Being here every month is a habit. You do this a few times and it'll automatically be like, I don't even have to think about it anymore. I just know I'm supposed to be here on the last Monday of the month and I'm here. It's a habit. And it starts to develop. And everything that I do is based on a habit. So what do your habits look like? So that was the first thing. The second thing is tomorrow night, we have our small business training, the last Tuesday of the month. Our training tomorrow is going to be different than one we've done. It's going to be, what is your story? See, the one thing that associates don't think about is, what is your story? And there's 2 different types of stories. There's the membership stories. So as a membership story, how have you used the membership? If you're a full service associate, you should have the HBS plan so you can have stories in the HBS. It's better to say, hey, Brendan, I want you to join me in the plan that I have, and then talk about it versus saying, here's a plan that I'm telling you should get. It's a very different thing to have that habit. So your story in the membership is great, but the number one story, the best story, is the opportunity story. You use the opportunity story in 3 different ways. One is a testimonial at a Super Saturday. Number 2, if you're presenting, you use your story. And number 3, if you are sitting doing a sit down, you use your story. If you're telling somebody why they should join this opportunity, your story should be primary. And thinking about different people's stories, as I've heard their stories at the time, their stories are reflective to why somebody wants to come in there. And if you're a full service associate, you should be able to tell a couple different stories at some point. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. But you should be able to tell your story. And so I have 2 different stories. One story is 15 years ago when I was first introduced to the services, I was working 80 to 100 hours a week. And after I decided to join this company and work this, I was able to build my business from 80 to 100 hours a week to less than 40 hours a week. And it hasn't gotten really, it's gotten better beyond that. That was the worst it's ever been. So I love that story, but that's only if I'm doing a testimonial. If I'm telling my story, if I'm sitting down with somebody, I talk about when I first got started 15 years ago, I became the caregiver of my mother in my 4th year of business, and I stopped going to work and they stopped paying me. But my business that had been building for 3 years continued to pay me as I was the caregiver to my mom. After about a year, I was able to go back to work for 2 years and work my way from my job, and I haven't had a job in over 10 years. Like, that's a story. That's a piece of my story as well. So if I'm sitting down telling somebody why they should join our company, I want to talk about that. And, you can tweak your story depending on whether you're talking in the small business arena, whether you're talking about the network arena, the group arena. You can pick pieces of your story to talk about that. But your story is so important because you bring the value. The services are great. The attorneys are great. The leadership is great, but you bring the value. And if you don't have any value when you sit to the table, then there is no value that's going to be exchanged. So you have to bring the value. So we decided that tomorrow we would focus on telling our story, learning how to tell your story. Because when I go to Super Saturdays, I watch people tell stories and I think they mostly suck. And the reason why they mostly suck, they're told for the associates, but the prospects are the one that are there to watch. If you tell a prospect an associate story, they get nothing. If you say, I'm a ring earner, I'm a performance club, I take the trips, prospects don't understand that. But if you say I was able to work and I stopped working 80 hours to go down to 40 hours, I was able to spend more time with my family and friends, they understand that. And I think the problem is that we stop teaching people how to tell the stories. When we stop telling people how to tell the stories, they stop telling good stories. So about 2 months ago at Super Saturday, it was all ring earners, Millionaire Club members. Everybody had a perfect story. Then I looked at other people the time before that, the time after that, and the stories weren't that good. But I think that you can make a lot of money in your business just by being able to tell your story. I don't remember Jim Tanner's story exactly, but I remember he's working at a furniture store. Now he's traveling around the country and actually helping other people build a significant business. I think that's a great story. It still stuck with me enough that I remember him talking about growing up in the Massachusetts, Boston area. And I remember him talking about how he struggled with life. And now he's not struggling, and he's now helping people. And I see pictures of him on the beach with his daughter, and I see all these things that he's doing. That's his story. And if he was recruiting me, I would have came along after seeing that. I just know the story is relevant. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. 5 p.m. Central Time. We're going to train on telling your story. I hopefully have enough council members so we can break off in the rooms, but we want to go in and tell your story, learn how to tell your story right, and make an effective story so you actually can make money with this business and help other people come on board to make money with you. With that, Mr. Tanner, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Great stuff. Is that something you could put in the chat for us, or do you have a flyer that I could share with everybody for tomorrow night?
I think I could put the flyer in the chat. If not, I can put the link in the chat.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's just great information. There's so much available training around us that it becomes our choice. Our choice is success. Our choice is lack of success, but it's our choice because all of the information on how to get 1% better every day is presented to us every day. And I just love that about this company. And there's so much of this decentralized, let me make sure I say this right, decentralized leadership, right? Because Mr. Jones is out there doing leadership activities and events on behalf of his team. And he's saying, hey, listen, this is for everybody. And so many of us are doing that, right? We're people that have come before you are training in front of you, and nobody is saying, well, there's a gatekeeper to keep you out. You have to be in a certain team. You have to be at a certain level. No, we just want everybody to learn. Because the truth is, we need your story of success. Johnny Jones needs your story of how you came into this business and then succeeded, so he can share your story with the next generation of new associates so that he can inspire them to do more than they would do on their own. It's a simple business made complicated by people that are just trying to do their best. But that's why we come together, so that we can learn to simplify this incredibly simple and because it's simple, sophisticated business. Brenda Wall, not simple, but very sophisticated. My good friend out there on the Pacific side, making sure that we keep things bi-coastal here, and keeping an eye on me when I am in town, which I truly appreciate. We would love to hear your thoughts today, because there's some news that's not even out yet. You're about to break this news for everybody that I didn't already tell personally, about what's going to be going on in the months in the new year, kind of in this Q1 into Q2, with some big events, and they're starting at your doorstep. So I couldn't think of anybody better to talk about this today than Brenda Wall. So Brenda, your leadership, the things you do for all of us, we appreciate it so much. We'd love to hear from you this morning. Take it away.
Hey, Mr. Tanner, I appreciate that so much. And I just want to piggyback on what Mr. Jones said when it talks about habits. That book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, is one of the best books I have ever read. And when I say read, I've listened to it on Audible, and I've also read it. I learn different ways. And I think sometimes having a couple of different means, whether it's watching, listening, reading, taking notes, doing a book club on it, it's an incredible book. And for me, I piggyback some of my habits. So when I'm walking, when I'm exercising, I like to listen to a personal development book. So really appreciate what you talked about, Mr. Jones. And when it comes to story, sometimes people don't think their story is worthy, and that's a bunch of baloney. Your story is worthy. And if your story is that you're making an extra $100 a month in your Legal Shield business, that is a worthy story. And you get to change your story at any time. You get to draw, I've drawn lines in the sand physically and just all the time. I remember being in Cancun and saying, I can't believe where I'm at on this performance club trip, but I should be a lot further. And so I drew a literal line in the sand and changed my business. This was several years ago. So for those of you that I haven't met before, my name is Brenda. I'm out here near the Seattle market, and I've been involved for 22 years. And I got started by accident. Anybody ever started a business by accident before? I was married 22 years ago, and my husband started the business. And I said, I will support you with whatever I can, meaning that I would take care of the kids. I would support him so that he could do the business. And he did the business for about 6 months. 6 months might be generous. But after that, he put it aside, and I decided that this was something that I wanted to take a look at. And I'm so grateful that I did. You know how they say busy people get things done? I had a lot on my plate. When people tell me there's a lot on their plate, sometimes I love that, and sometimes I get frustrated at that. busy people get things done. And so when I actually went and saw the information that was presented, Mr. Steve Hoisington presented the information, and I was blown away by the membership, because I only knew how to use the membership for one reason, and that was the reason that my husband and I had signed up for. And when I learned there were so many other things that this membership could help with, I was just like blown away. I'm like, we're never going to cancel this. And then they started talking about the money. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. I have done sales before. I've never seen this type of commission. And so making sure that somebody sees the full presentation is very, very important. But I got started on a part-time basis. And one of the first things I did, I was a daycare provider. And so I had the fire department, the local fire department would come in and they would teach prevention, right? We would do our little getting out of the house, smoke. I can't even think of it now. It was Sparky. Sparky the dog would come and they would do presentations. That was the very first group that I opened, was the fire department, because they were familiar to me. So I was a full service agent right away before I even really knew what that was. I knew business owners who needed our plan, and I learned about the business plan, and I was able to help those individuals. When it comes to being a full service associate, it really comes down to where you're focusing. I remember back in the day, they used to say, pick a major and pick a minor. And maybe your major is recruiting and your minor is solutions. Or maybe your major is solutions and your minor is recruiting, but they go hand in hand. And I love that we're coming back to the whole wheel of opportunity. Mr. Tanner was talking about an opportunity here in the Pacific Northwest. Melissa Peters is going to go on a tour. I think she's got 12 different locations for 2024. And she's going to talk about becoming a full service agent. And that's where the focus is going to be. And Seattle gets to be the very first location. It's going to be on Saturday, January 20th. And we've got an incredible venue that we use. It is it's called the LeMay Car Museum. They've got hundreds of cars in this museum. And we rent one of the rooms there. And then afterwards, you get to tour the museum. Your Super Saturday event covers a ticket to the museum. It's absolutely incredible. But we heard a little bit of a surprise recently, and that is that Mr. Darnell Self is coming with her, and he's going to do a recruiting event on the Friday before, on the 19th. So imagine having Darnell Self and then Melissa Peters, she's from Planet Awesome, both in the same, they don't have to travel together. These two are incredible on their own. And here they are coming to the Pacific Northwest. So this is going to be an incredible event. I looked on the calendar. It's not even there yet. So just make sure you write it down. It's going to be on Friday, the 19th of January. That's the recruiting event. And on Saturday, the 20th with Miss Peters. And I really can't even imagine how big this event's going to be. I know we've got people coming down from British Columbia. I know we've got people coming from Idaho. We've got people coming from, well, Mr. Tanner says he's coming from the other side of the country. And I know Oregon's going to plug in too. But really, the importance of becoming a full service agent is just, you want to take advantage on as much as you can. So for me, I was full board recruiting. And when they had the recruiting contest going on with the trip to Jamaica, I was a recruiting fool. And then I have switched now for the final quarter because I have a lot of groups. I've got about 60 groups. And so I have gone into full service. I am servicing my open enrollments. I'm at benefit fairs. I'm doing Zoom presentations. But that's the beautiful thing about this business. And Mr. Jones talked about it too. I was fortunate that I was able to take care of my mom when she got sick. We had 45 doctor's appointments in a 30-day span. If you've got a regular job, you do not continue that job, or you do not continue that paycheck. With Legal Shield, with the business you can build up, you get to have control of your life. And that story that you're telling, if that's the only story I had, I could recruit people left, right, and center with that story. But I also get to tell the story of, I'm a grandma. I have 5 grandkids and a 6th one on the way. And I get to spend as much time as I want with them, as much time as I want, right? You get to send them home when you want to. But how many people can say that? in their mid-50s, right? I get to spend as much time as I want. I block days off on my calendar so that I can spend time with my grandkids. When my grandson turned 13, I took him on a fishing trip that was just the most memorable thing in the world. Like, that is something that each of my grandkids will get as they hit the age of 13. So just whatever your story is, it can be big, it can be $1 million a year, or it can be a few $100s a month. It doesn't matter. Learn how to tell it in a way that inspires others, and listen to other people's stories. The most incredible thing about Mr. Self, you'll see him taking notes at every single event. He's writing down the stories because he wants to mirror and match. When he talks to somebody who says they are a truck driver and they started this part-time and they were able to work themselves out of the truck, he's got a story that he's got a person that he can tell their story of. And that's really impactful. So I know you guys know about the full service associate contest that's going on. Here's what I would say. They changed the rules. So it started November. They restarted it in November. So you have to be Performance Club qualified in November. So whether you're opening new groups, whether you're recruiting anybody, whether you're fast start qualifying anybody, because all of those things are going to multiply and add and be a part of that full service associate, you have to be Performance Club November. So make sure that minimally you are Performance Club. And we've got 4 days. You've got plenty of time. Mr. Hoisington used to call me the cardiac kid. I would be planting seeds all month long, but I wasn't a really powerful closer until the last couple days of the month. And then I would always get it done. Now I always have $150 in premium, 150 points in premium that rolls over. But that wasn't always my story. My story was I struggled. Sanara, I can see your picture. It says, if there's no struggle, there's no process, right? No progress. And that's true. It was a struggle in the beginning for me to Performance Club qualify. But then it became easier and easier and easier. And now I roll into the beginning of the month with that 150 premium points, and I have it done by the 15th typically. So with that, Mr. Tanner, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Brenda, thank you very much. Isn't this great that we get this collaborative environment where we can all circle up virtually, be together? Thanks again for that. And yeah, that's my plan. My plan is to come out, checking with the home office now to make sure I'm not supposed to be anywhere else that weekend. But as long as my schedule's clear, then I'll also be there to plug into Mr. Self and Mr. Peters, and to bring, and of course to bring my recruiting focus into that market as well. And I would suggest all of that to all of you. Start asking the people around you, who do you know in Oregon? Who do you know in Washington State? Who do you know in Idaho? Who do you know in Northern California? Who do you know in British Columbia? Because if you don't ask, you're never going to get an answer that can lead you somewhere. Now, in the next couple of minutes, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to do some shameless self-promotion of something that while we had a great attendance at the live event and the replay numbers are really good so far, most people were not able to stay with us or attend with us, I should say, last Tuesday night when we had our big Agents of Change, I Am the Lighthouse mastermind event. So I would encourage those of you, and Sonora Danzler is going to pop that in the chat for us, to catch the replay of this. If you want to know really what it is that you're a part of, what the collaborative spirit of who we are really is, I think it was revealed clearly at the event. We hadn't done one of these events for a while, but it's an event where you get to hear people's own story of their journey and really their optimism for where they're going in the future. And we heard from myself and Ulysses Brown out of the Atlanta market, who's a Millionaire Club member and a ring earner. Yvette Eldridge from New Hampshire, who's currently ranked #1 on that Legal Shield full service associate board. You heard from Sonora Danzler, who's basically everywhere, right? I mean, she's basically electricity in a bottle, and she shared her story about how she stays really busy and really focused on her Legal Shield business at the same time. You heard from Chris Corley, who I've been working this business with for now, as he says, 6 years, which it feels like 6 months, but 6 years have gone by as this gentleman has completely changed his life with this business. John Fehrenbach, #1 recruiter in Ohio and one of the top recruiters for the year, knocking on the door of that #1 spot for the entire year in Legal Shield. He joined us and shared his story, and Tammy Martin in Louisiana as well. And I don't think I'm leaving anybody out, but Tammy Martin also with her career living her life, being a spouse, being a parent, a grandparent, having had experience in direct sales coming into Legal Shield, and embracing the coachability that's required to win in this business. You heard some incredible stories. And again, for those of you that have team that didn't get a chance to participate and hear that, it's great information that was designed so that you could take it with you in the car, take it with you to the gym, take it with you on your walk, and hear some of the stories of these folks that are walking this walk and living this life that we call Legal Shield. I've got 12:25 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to say goodbye, as I've been saying recently, which is the Zoom's over, but the week is just getting started. Thanks so much to Brenda Wall, and thanks to Mr. Johnny Jones, and for all of you for plugging in. Let's go out there and finish this month of November in an impactful way, because the impact we make, yes, we measure it in premium and sales counters and people recruited, but the real true impact is the lives we touch. And I'm so grateful that I get to go out there with you and touch those lives together. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, great week, and a great finish of your month. See you again soon.